individuals will have the resources that billionaires have. So the agent can autonomously do all of those activities based on your command. On the flip side to your doomsday question, I'd add one more thing.
So what's in store for the future?
So I think the three phases, would be
is there any reason for distinct and separate large language models?
That's a good question.
Yaswanth, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hello, Cameron. Thank you for inviting me to the show. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm awesome. My audience may not be familiar with your work or AI used in the business context. Do you want to introduce yourself and give us a high-level view of what your special skill set is?
Yeah, sure. So myself, Yashwant, I'm currently a product manager at Walmart. So I've been in the industry for 10 years. Um, so I started my career building software, and then I came to the US for my master's, went to Carnegie Mellon for information systems management, and then worked for 8 years in the industry as a product manager in different facets of retail product. So first, I started helping sellers who sold on major marketplaces. I managed a SaaS product that helped with the fulfillment delivery returns of the seller. These were sellers who sold on major marketplaces like Amazon, Walmart, Etsy, etc., to ship through USPS, UPS, FedEx, etc. And there were also sellers cross-border sellers who would want to ship, etc. And then I grew a B2B SaaS product from $5 million to over $100 million in annual
Wow.
recurring revenue. And then after that, I joined Amazon. So I worked on the catalog team at Amazon. So close to 4 years, leading AI ML initiatives to measure and improve the quality of the Amazon catalog. So this was across 21 plus countries that Amazon operates, including leveraging generative AI to measure and improve the catalog as well. And then I went to Wharton, did my executive MBA from Wharton, and then currently I joined Walmart. So I work on the international side and lead the strategy towards leveraging generative AI, agentic AI, to make the shopping experience better for sellers on Walmart.
Sounds like a big task. For those who don't know, what is a SaaS? Uh, what does SaaS stand for, and what does it mean?
Yeah. SaaS is a software as a service. So basically, um, so this was an application programming interface. These are modular components that you can take and plug it into any application. So specifically, the sellers have warehouses and warehouse management software. So these are modular components that you can take in and plug it into the software. And that helps them with printing the label to put it on the box and then ship it out of the warehouse to your house. So that's the
Ah,
software that I worked on.
interesting. Okay, so then you mentioned two different terms, generative AI and agentic AI. What's the difference between those two, and how does it fit into the SaaS world?
Yeah. So generative AI, so you ask the AI to do some of the stuff for you. Say, for example, you give it a task for example, this podcast, right? Hey, listen to this podcast and summarize this thing for me. So then it would create a summary of the entire conversation. It would listen and produce that. So that would be like a generative AI task. Now, in terms of agentic AI, um, so you let the AI do things. So you give the AI the large language model, and then you give it tools and then you give it like some memory and tell that these are the conditions that you should follow, and then do things on your own. Now, not only for this one podcast, for all your 100 podcasts, hey agent, automatically listen and then summarize and then edit everything and then publish it as well. So the agent can autonomously do all of those activities based on your command and can execute a sequence of tasks. So that independence is the one where agentic comes into picture.
Interesting. So the basic generative AI is a single question, single output, but it can be whatever you ask it to output
Yeah.
versus the agent actually functioning a little bit like an employee, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Interesting. And that's how AI is going to destroy jobs across the world, right?
Um, I think that's I wouldn't fully say in terms of job destruction. I think there's a nice book from Mustafa Sulaiman, the one who heads like Microsoft's AI research divisions. Um, so in his book, he talks about how with every shift in technology, every wave, um, people resist the change, but then um, it actually improves the productivity of the people, and it makes more people get access to things much faster. The tools. So, say for example, Bill Gates had this quote like, "Hey, I if I want to read a book, I can have people do it for me." And now individuals will have the resources that billionaires have, like, um, to at their disposal. You upload a book, it will read and summarize it for you. So those are the productivity gains. And if somebody wants to build a website earlier, it takes time and resources. You need software development engineers and others to build it, but now you don't need all of that. You write a prompt, hey, build a website for um, mamasgiftshop.com, and then automatically the website is entirely built and it's like published and live, and you don't need to do anything. So the it bridges the gap between the people who know how to do things versus the people who don't know how to do things. So it reduces the barrier. So AI could be like a game changer in that. And I think upskilling and reskilling has always been like part of human evolution. So I think AI would have like positive productivity improvement. Certainly the skills needed for those jobs will shift, but I think we have seen this in every wave, like industrial age, etc., where people, in UK were like pushing towards spinning mills. There were people who are like manually sewing yarn, like clothes and everything. And when cotton mills came, people were like pushing, hey, this is not there. But like some other parts of the world adopted and then they grew. So it's more about like embracing the change and like building, upskilling, and like growing with the change.
Right. I agree fundamentally with that. I think um, I've always had a little bit of, I was AI hesitant, resistant maybe for a while, but not because I thought it was going to destroy the world or anything. Honestly, my big hang up is that, well, I guess people are going to stop trying to figure stuff out on their own. And I've been thinking about that a lot for months. And then maybe a week ago, I had an epiphany. And it's exactly what you just described it, where we've had certain shifts that gave increased access to not only information, but labor, and then also distribution. So even like, the printing press gave us access to information and distribution because now books had a distribution system they didn't have before, but also people can read. You think about, Wikipedia. You can type anything into Wikipedia and get a pretty good high level overview of whatever it is you're talking about. YouTube, all these podcasts that are going around telling everybody everything about anything. All of this information that is just at our fingertips, it hasn't resulted in people not trying to learn. It actually tricked more people into learning, and especially if you put it into some sort of entertainment sort of perspective, like a podcast or a YouTube video, which is very, very, it's paradigm shifting for me personally. because I spent years, the last several years, really working myself up about. Have you seen the movie Idiocracy?
No,
Boy,
not yet.
you gotta watch it. It's old. It's from the 90s, I think. But basically,
Mm,
the fundamental premise is that all the smart people died and the dumb people stopped learning new things. And then they had
mm,
problems because they didn't know how to grow crops or manufacture or do healthcare. It's a funny,
interesting.
funny movie. But the premise is like real and scary because if people aren't out there trying to learn and do stuff, then like the whole world's going to fall apart. And there's so much that we have implemented already through our internet based society, technology, all of that, lights, microphones, these cameras, everything. If something happens and the people who know how that works are no longer available, it all falls apart. Like nobody's going to know how
Yeah.
to fix it. Nobody's going to know how to build it. Nobody's going to know what to do. And I worried for a long time that we were doing it to ourselves by just giving you the answer without showing you how to get to the answer. But I think what you said is starting to make me think. I have hope because I think people are gonna realize that it's going to the library is hard, going to YouTube's
Hmm.
easy, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's interesting.
So I'll add that movie to the bucket list, and yeah,
It's
YouTube
a
is
good
something
movie.
that I keep
I do
hearing from. Yeah.
I do wonder though. So when you're building these AI systems, I think you pretty well described the process, but I think the average person thinks that you can type something into AI, whatever the AI is, and then just get the output, and they don't ever actually have to do anything other than type that one sentence or paragraph. That's not exactly how it works, right?
Hmm. So, sorry, can you repeat or rephrase the question?
That the agentic AI requires you to actually do things, right? You can't just necessarily type something into a weird form and then everything
Hmm.
gets put out. You have to kind of know what you're talking about. You have to know how to build the agentic AI, right?
Yeah. So currently, humans need to know how to build the agentic AI. I'm sure at some point that those will also become like prompts. And I was looking at the videos from the recent Salesforce Agent Force, or like the Dream Force week in San Francisco, and they've made it like so easy for companies to build agents. And there were like videos about like Williams Sonoma and other companies, how in Salesforce they've made it easy. You could like type in, there would be like a form, and you fill in, hey, what do you want the chat assistant to do? And then like it will automatically answer those questions. If any customer comes to the website and then asks any questions, so it automatically answers those questions. It's like a form, you fill it, and your like chat assistant is like live. So there are a lot of companies who are trying to build the user interfaces to make it very easy, that you don't need to be tech savvy to build and launch those things. So um,
Hmm.
the world is changing. They want to make it easier for you to be able to build agents, like use these tools.
That's insane. Well, it's good. I think, ultimately it's gonna maybe it's gonna, instead of tamp down intellect, creativity, novelty, it might help us increase it because think about how many people have really cool ideas but no idea how to implement it.
Hmm.
Maybe that idea
Yeah,
figures out how to pop out into the world.
right. So I think that's where like a lot of these tools, self-service capabilities, even the agents building agents. So the way they are looking at the evolution towards AGI is a there would be like humans managing agents to start with, and then um, next is the agent starts interacting with each other, like master slave architecture and stuff, and then agents managing agents. So that's like the next phase, where at some point of time the agents start creating agents, and they manage that whole chain to like do activities, etc., is how um, they're predicting, the world to evolve. So
That does sound a little bit how Skynet got built in the Terminator movies, though. What's the real risk that these agents, once they're interacting with each other, they start screwing everything up, even if it's just on a small my business scale? Without how do you put the oversight in there to make sure that I don't know they don't go rogue?
yeah, I think that's where all of these regulations, like from California, Colorado, and then like from the U.S. government in itself, like European Union, Canada, everybody is like coming up with like regulations
Hmm.
to mitigate the harm, etc., to ensure there are guardrails in place. So I think the guardrails are critical to ensure that the humans remain in control and any
Yeah, that
negative
in
actions are
control is the
being.
important part, right?
Yeah,
I listen to so many people sort of like hypothesize that AI is going to be the downfall of humanity, and something that always occurs to me is it's still just a piece of technology you can unplug, right? And
yeah.
even more so, you kind of have to give it access to whatever you want it to mess around with. So some of our nuclear codes and stuff like that, that an AI that you or I build isn't going to get access to the nuclear codes. It has no way of accessing that system. It would need a human to bridge that gap. And the human will just go, no, I'm not doing that. Right?
Yep. So it depends, that's where like how so Mustafa Suleiman in his book actually goes into this, the coming wave. So that was a fascinating book. So he talks about how AI should be regulated similar to um, different countries have like nuclear um, facilities, nuclear development activities, and then there is like an international atomic energy commission that manages the development of, heats used for like power generation, productive activities, and not for the creation of bombs or destructive activities, right? So there are these international bodies that moderate how countries develop, but how unlike nuclear power, um, the development of like AI is being done by like private enterprises and it's not done by the government. So then there should be like a body regulating the development of AI, like the way we control nuclear power, because the power is so big. What the AI could do, right, in the next coming decades. So um, i- we need to ensure that everybody who develops it the way, you know, um, with the controls, because anybody could like use the technology and like tweak it. There were some videos of people downloading llama and like doing it to try different things related to bomb or something, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
um then like those, that's where the guardrails and like the restrictions on these open source models becomes critical.
Well, that's interesting. It, that idea of regulating private companies isn't always going over super well here in the US anyways, but I suppose it makes sense. Do you actually, I guess, believe that AI will be the doom of civilization in any particular way?
I think with the right guardrails, I think AI should make us more efficient. That so that there is this quote whenever I go to any of the events, conferences that people talk about is like, hey, I want AI to do my dishes and my laundry, not my work, not my job.
Yeah, right?
So, um, so I think with the right controls, I think AI would make our lives much more better. So that would be the goal, right? Uh, there are like different people, like differently able people in the world with different challenges, right? Who'd want assistance, and AI could like solve for a lot of those problems, which were very difficult to like solve for before, is what I would
That's
say.
true. What do you think about the Neuralink? I saw the first guy who got the neural link, talking about how his ability to play like first person shooter video games wildly
Hmm.
improved. Full
Yeah,
paraplegic, no use of your hands, and now you're the best shooter on a computer game ever.
yeah. I think it's fascinating how, the em- human plus AI, um, or anything embedded is going to change. I mean, there are also, I know CRISPR is like something that's like banned, like modifying the human genome in America, but like in the Western world. But I think that's something that, in the non-Western world that they keep trying to go into, some of the countries. Uh, but I think it's going to be interesting how things evolve in that landscape because uh, there then you can like modify some of the genetic defects, etc. and
Yeah,
things like
I've thought about
that.
that a little bit too lately. I'm rewatching the show Stargate. I watch a lot of TV and
Yeah.
movies. Have you ever seen Stargate?
Mm. Yeah, I watched Target. Yeah.
Okay, so you know about the Asgard, the alien race?
Yeah.
They genetically modified themselves to breed out something that was killing their population, which resulted in them no longer being able to reproduce. So now they're basically just cloning themselves, downloading their consciousness, putting it into the new body. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of interesting things happening in that particular narrative within the show that are making me wonder. Because at first I was like, why not solve all genetic defects? Sounds like a great
Hmm.
idea, right? But,
Yep.
I mean, everything you employ has a side effect, and we don't know what the side effects are gonna
Hmm.
be yet, so there carries a
Yeah.
risk, right?
Hmm.
I don't know, what the risk of maybe figuring out how to avoid cancer, because cancer is
Hmm.
largely, in some cases, developed it's a I think so anyways, there's some DNA issues, because some cancers can be predicted by your DNA strands, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So, breed those out, that might be great, but then maybe you make everybody 4 feet tall and 200 pounds. That wouldn't be good, right?
Yeah. On the flip side to your like doomsday question, I'd add one more thing. There's the Andreessen Horowitz podcast. They like invest in like all the major startups in like Silicon Valley. And one thing that they told at every evolution of technology wave, we have like over promised and under delivered. So it's not gonna like AI is gonna take your job tomorrow. It's gonna be like the decade of agents. It takes time to mature. So that's on the flip side. Uh,
Interesting. That's fair point. Don't we have I'm blanking on what it's called, but it's the idea that technology is an exponential rise, not a linear. So if it used to take decades for a new technology to be, fully integrated, revolutionary, maybe now we're in the it only takes 4 to 5 years time frame of that exponential rise, and it's only going to get worse.
yeah. Um, the hope is it helps in productive improvement of like learning, giving us more time back in the hands of people to like enjoy nature, like travel,
Yeah,
etc. Right? Other things.
there you go. So you build these agentic systems, right?
So I'm a product manager. I work with data scientists, software engineers to build some of these systems to build agents to make shopping better.
How do you approach a new build? Say you're trying to come up with a new agent. How do you figure out what to build and then subsequently how to build it?
Yeah. Um, so first, I think looking at it, immaterial of any technology, um, looking at you know who's the customer, what is their need. Hey, if I'm like a shopper, right? What do I shop for? What are my like problems right now when I go and buy online? And then with respect to agentic, something that I like think about very strongly is about like, the S curves in technology adoption, how it took different technologies, different number of years. So like internet took off within a couple of years as soon as it was invented. But like the automobile technology took like 20, 30 years for it to actually start seeing like mass adoption. So then with respect to agentic systems, that's the question. Now, hey, if I let an agent buy on your behalf, will you trust the agent to give your credit card and like buy everything for you? um, that trust
Wow.
factor, when will humans start trusting, right? Till when does it need to assist versus when can it automatically like buy on your behalf, right? So
Yeah.
those are like the nuances, that we deeply think about, etc. So um, understanding what the customer, who the customers are, what do they shop today, and then how can each part of the journey made like better, and where do you need agents, where do you don't need agents, and where can they work better, etc. Adding some of the guardrails, right? Oh, you're like you want to make like some meal, right? Then giving you a recipe, and where will you go, right? For what use cases? There are so many um, AI applications as well. You can go to like ChatGPT, you can go to like Anthropic, Claude, etc. So then, like understanding where customers will go for what, and like being at the places, where customers are going to be. So like Walmart made an announcement, like partnering with like OpenAI, right? OpenAI is building agentic commerce apps SDK, where you can do everything within like ChatGPT. You ask questions. Oh, book a Uber for me, and then like you build an Uber, like and then like you want to order on any of the platforms, right? So the goal is if you want to order on Walmart.com, you should be able to do it on OpenAI, right? So and then like when would customers come on the website, and then what are those use cases? There is like Walmart announced 4 agents. One is like Marty, Sparky, and then a couple of others for different use cases. So Sparky is more about like shopping assistant. So you go on the app, you download the Walmart in US, so you can see like a shopping assistant where you can ask questions like you want to plan for your party, similar to that. So every retailer is coming up with shopping assistants to assist you with the process. So looking at like what use cases would work better, and then like going deeper into thinking through the customer journey and seeing where AI can like reduce time for you. Earlier, people had the time to like go in and like research websites. Oh, I want to buy a refrigerator. Okay, I'm gonna go take like consumer reports and then like compare what is the reviews, or like I'm going to Google
Huh?
and like open 5 different tabs and like compare. Now, people don't have the time to do it. They want to compare there in the website and like in one place, or they don't even want to compare. They want the AI to compare and give them recommendations, in terms of give me a summary of the pro and con and what I should buy. So people want the AI
Interesting.
to recommend and do all the work. So
That's interesting that you use the use case of compare because I'm definitely that guy who clicks the 4 different items and then at the bottom of the screen click compare, and then you read through this technical mumbo jumbo that most of the time doesn't make sense or isn't describing the feature that I wanted to compare, and it's kind of
okay.
annoying. So you ask your AI companion or assistant to very narrowly compare based off of the thing you actually care about. That'd be pretty sick. Yeah.
And then you can even like today go and like Google they launched their like AI mode with when ChatGPT announced, OpenAI announced the agentic commerce thing. Google came up with like the AI mode where you can like go in and search for items, and they're also starting to go into like the retail domain where you can see the information from like different retail websites, from the brand owner, from like the different marketplaces, etc., along with the price. So it's very easy for you to get the entire information in like one place. So that's where like the time needed by customers to compare is reduced, and it's like made everything is there. You can just see what you need in
Yeah,
one place. So,
that's awesome.
um,
And it's time for an ad read. Just kidding. This podcast is not yet sponsored. However, I do have a referral code for you to use on a purchase of your next Whoop fitness tracker. If you click the link in the description, it will take you to a landing page where you can buy the Whoop with 1 month free. And in exchange for you using my super secret, highly personalized referral link, Whoop will also give me 1 month free. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but it helps me greatly. If you need a little convincing as to why a Whoop band is a good choice for a fitness tracker, let me show you why I decided to use the Whoop band. It comes on your wrist, but you can take it off, and if you don't want to wear anything on your wrist other than a nice watch, you can take the band off, and you have the fitness tracker on its own, and you can put on a different band that you can put on your shoulder, wear consistently while wearing something that you don't want a big chunky bracelet on your wrist with. I'm a big fan of the Whoop band for the whole Whoop tracking aspect of it, but mostly for the fact that you can wear it in different locations. They've even got t-shirts, undergarments, swimwear, other waterproof bands, and other things to make sure that you can wear your fitness tracker at all times, in all conditions, in all levels of formal clothing. So please, if you plan to purchase a Whoop fitness tracker, use my code. The less I spend on my own Whoop subscription, the more I can invest into this show, bringing you more and better guests, more and better content, and most importantly, more and better discount codes on more and better products. Again, click the link in the description to use my referral code to get yourself 1 month free on your Whoop fitness tracker. Back to the show. How do you go about, I assume there has to be some training the customer to use the system, right? How do
yeah.
you go about doing that?
So, I think that's where like some of these prompts become handy. Like see in a lot of the assistants, like, oh, there will be like 4, 5 prompts. You go in and you see like it suggests what you can input, so that way the customer
Ah,
knows what to like. There are like templates, um, so that way like you click, I want to plan a party, or I want to tell me how to make like a chicken curry or something, right? Um, like I want to plan a barbecue, what items I should buy, or like for my camping trip, items for my camping trip. So those like templates would like help the customers like you know uh, pick, and then it needs to be like very intuitive, right, for the customers to figure out initiating that behavior, etc., is critical to help with adoption.
interesting. I suppose that makes sense. I mean, honestly, it it kind of sounds like building these systems isn't totally different than what you would do for normal product development and everything. It's just making it potentially easier, more streamlined, answering a few questions that would take a week to figure out in a couple hours, that kind of stuff. Is that about right?
Yep, exactly. That productivity gains is like the key, and that
Interesting.
will help people deliver more stuff.
So, what's in store for the future? What's the next iteration that you're going to be playing around with and trying to implement?
So I think the three phases, would be like, hey, now, like you start with, you assist the customer and then recommend items, is the first phase where shopping assistants are. And then the next phase is buying on their behalf. Oh, this price drops. When this price drops, like iPhone 17 drops below X price, buy on my behalf. You set some conditions, or something is out of stock. People are like very passionate about like they're like Pokemon, TCG, or Pokemon Evolution, or like they're like Lego. If something is out of stock, and then hey, AI watch it for me and buy it when it is available at this price. There are all these like niche things which gets sold out, they don't need to like go watch it. The AI will watch for you and like buy for you, right? That could be like the next evolution. And then the AI knows, like, what if, in the Internet of Things, like all your devices start talking to each other. Your refrigerator talks to the AI shopping assistant, and then like you can
Okay.
all like start buying. It tells when your fridge is like empty, what items are there, right? Then you predict and like you automatically replenish your things, right? That's like
Interesting.
utopia.
Well, my mind automatically went to using AI to make sure I don't miss ticket sales for like concerts and shows when those
Mhm.
go live during the workday and I don't have the ability to go get it. And then when I show up, all the good seats are gone. That that sounds like a wonderful use case. How do I build that?
Um,
Walk me through it. We'll open ChatGPT right now. Just kidding.
Sure. So let me ensure that I understood your question in terms of like seats for. So if you want to go for an event and then you want to like book a seats as soon as the event opens, is that
Is that
accurate?
something an average person could do on their own? Like figure out how to program it and set it up?
Let's see. I think there are like a lot of companies trying to come up with user interfaces. So there are like um, maybe an average person to set it up. Maybe in like Chat GPT, you can go and like create your GPT. I think the agent is still evolving for people to set it up. There are these companies like N8 where you can set up workflows, etc. But I think agent building Salesforce is more like enterprises, the agent
Hmm.
force thing. Um, the UI is still maturing. Maybe N8 might mean, you need to drag some workflows, etc. I don't know. The tech savvy users are the ones who like first adopt it. But for like the mass, it's still evolving, is what I would say. Maybe that's the next product that if people build to make it very easy to like create agents by any layman for their tasks. That's the
Hmm.
way to go, right? Um, I think you can do some of it using like Chat GPT. You can give the prompts, but it's still evolving, is what I would say.
Okay. All right. Well, we're walking down that road to universal AI adoption and everybody being able to use it for whatever benefit. It'll be exciting to
Mhm,
see, how that pans out on the consumer level. Kind of like, every piece of technology starts off really only the rich or the tech savvy are using it
mhm,
because cost or knowledge barriers. But then eventually that one product comes out and the TV advertising says it's not just for the special people anymore.
mhm.
It'll be interesting to see what that looks like as it rolls out and what people make use of it with.
Yeah, that's where these like open source models would like
Hmm.
help make it easier for like the haves and have-nots. Because these open source models give the power, they eliminate those cost barrier for different the cost at which it would be offered, because open source models you don't pay anything, whereas when it is like private models, then your cost grows exponentially. So I think that's where
Right.
like companies are realizing open source does help. And there are both like on there's like Llama, which is open source. There's like Mistral, and then there's like DeepSeek, Quen, all these other models which are open source and stuff from different companies.
Is it fair to hypothesize that the eventual future of AI will not be two or three big companies that everybody flocks to, like ChatGPT right now? It'll be more widely distributed, varying functions of individual AI implementations.
Yeah. Um, I think there would be so the infrastructure needs like heavy investment. So that's where like when you look at the quarterly um, earnings and then the investment allocations of these like the bigger companies, I think the bigger ones are pouring like 70-80 billion dollars um, from each one of them into like these AI. investments for um, so that means the infrastructure needed might like skew towards the ones who can build it. But there are these companies who would like build applications on top of the infrastructure. um, there will be some amount of like things that not everybody could do on the infrastructure side, where it will like be only with the companies which have that massive capital needs who could do it. But the applications, there could be like any companies who could build applications on top of this infrastructure and then make it available for the public. That's why like Nvidia is like making all these like APIs, open source things available for companies to build applications. They even have like templates on their website. Oh, if you're in finance, if you're in retail, by like domain, you can see templates on their like website actually to like build agents, build applications. So they make it very easy. They have like packages as well. So the ones with the infrastructure investments want every company, every startup out there to build applications on top of their infrastructure. Like there is the deep learning certifications like that Google, Microsoft, Oracle, everybody is like offering, and they want you to be able to use their infrastructure and like build these applications, even like OpenAI, Anthropic. So like I think companies will build applications and reduce the barrier, but like some of these companies will see like massive gains. Maybe they may not be the one directly building those applications, but all these like applications that will be available for the general public will be built on top of their infrastructure, their chips, hardware, GPUs, TPUs, and whatnot, right?
Right. And so the infrastructure is more or less the actual large language model itself. The people who are building, the hard drives in the computers that store the information that the applications that the smaller companies build then access.
Yep,
Is that
exactly.
fair? Okay.
That's
Interesting.
yeah.
All right.
So
So
that's
is there any real reason to have more than one large language model? What if everybody who's doing it right now teamed up together to make the one,
uh
and then we let everyone else do the apps that access it? Is there any reason for distinct and separate large language models?
that's a good question. I think that's where regulators would come into picture. Then, hey, if you remove competition, then too much power and too much control
Hmm.
within like one single player. And also, I think competition makes them like makes these companies work faster, better, and more in the interest of the consumer. So competition is actually healthy, um, because then you need to innovate to constantly like adapt and iterate to think on the feet. I think competition would actually make them move faster. Um,
Fair.
if it's only a one single player, then why would they need to innovate? Then they have like everything, right? They might
Oh,
move much slower than competition is actually healthy
well, that's
for.
fair. But it also does protect against somebody who has a strong ideal about the world implementing that.
Uh-huh.
I'm reminding myself of another Stargate episode where the alien race had little, like, basically a neural link, but the guy who ran the large language model could program these people anytime he wanted to have like a completely different memory of how the world works. So if shit started like getting a little weird, he was just like, type, 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 type. And now everything's, under his control again. Got to be careful of that
Yeah.
kind of stuff too, right? Interesting.
Um, yeah, those are all like interesting questions. But I think the different companies also look at like, different dimensions. They go like specialize in different things. So that helps also um, challenge. Like when DeepSeek came out, they learned a lot. They created, you know, new techniques how they could like scale faster, right? Um, Using like something called distillation. They like asked millions of questions on like an open AI and like they learned. So it's pretty interesting how different companies go about their approach of like building large language models and like training it. Some focus on like healthcare, some on like building software applications. So there are different companies with like different expertise and they're like trying different things. So I think it's like healthy competition.
I was under the impression that a large language model was more or less just a compilation of as much information as possible. Are the models actually themselves making decisions and synthesizing the information in a way? Or is that just the apps that get access to the models?
Yeah. Um, so I think the decision making when OpenAI had that whole um, like fiasco a couple of years back with Sam Altman being like fired and like coming back and all of that. Um, that was one of the key points of debate at that point of time in terms of who will be the decision maker. And then they created like some of the people went out. There was like creation of Anthropic, super intelligence, thinking machines, and whatnot, right? By people who work within OpenAI. I think all go into this exact problem where, you know, there are um, people with different schools of thought who determine who determine that like, hey, whether it should be AI or like human who should be in control in those critical scenarios. And that's where some of these companies differ between
Oh,
OpenAI versus Anthropic versus like, super intelligent, the SSI and then thinking machines. So the other ones want human to have like more of the control. So that was kind of the whole debate and the fiasco, right? Whether it should be for profit, not for profit, etc. The for profit means, hey, then you would have to make it scale faster, and you cannot have, um, there are like if there are like 7-8 billion people in the world, then like you cannot have a human in like every conversation making those decisions to those questions, right? So that means you have to let AI decide for it to scale. So it's a problem of like scaling and for profit.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, it sounds that, there's a lot of thought going into all of these big systems. And I like that some people are trying to keep it, safe and helpful. Um, I like that. I think I like the way you've described, um, still that the humans are involved in all of that kind of stuff. It makes me feel a little bit
Mhm.
safer, It also makes me feel like I can eventually figure out how to do it because, the average person probably thinks you have to be wildly intelligent, successful computer programmer, coder type person to be able to do anything with these. And even some of the different little websites that do AI something or other that I've tried to play around with, I still can't make it work. Like I tried using AI to build a website and it came out looking like trash. I don't know if that's because I don't know how to use AI or if it's because I don't know how to design the website. One or the other is the problem, maybe both. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think AI would like, help remove some of those barriers that anybody could create great websites, etc. Right? To
Yeah.
like remove that barrier or difference between like the knows and people who don't know, right? Nobody needs
Yeah.
to know anything. Just the AI will know everything and make it better for you. That's kind
Kind
of
of
the goal.
boils down to if you can figure out how to write the prompt in the way that serves you best. And that I did I did hear some time ago that prompt engineering might be the new burgeoning white collar job. Which what do you think about that? Is that important thing, the actual prompt writing?
Yeah, I think it's like super critical. That's a very good question, actually. Prompt engineering is like a whole skill in itself, and there are like a lot of my friends who are like data scientists. They complain, "Hey, we've just become like just prompt engineers now. We write like prompts.
Yeah.
Earlier, they used to build all these like machine learning models. Now they just like give prompts." And I think there are like a lot of articles about how like thanks and please is like burning lots of power and energy for like OpenAI, and there are like lot of these companies which are even like building tools. Like there are like even guides that all the LLM companies are like releasing about how to prompt, how not to prompt, what prompts work best. There was a company that I was listening to talk, the founder of DataViz, and then they have like something called prompt debloat. So what it does is you put like a prompt in the UI and it tells like what are all is like redundant and what is effective and what is ineffective. It just highlights when you put that prompt in there. So I think prompt
Interesting.
engineering is like a skill in itself. So how you should qualify the AI as an expert, and how when you qualify and how when you not qualified works. So like one of my professors, Ethan Malik at like Wharton, so he has also written a book, and like he has like a lot of videos explaining, what prompts like actually give better outputs and what does not. And I think some of his points were around like when you qualify the AI to be an expert, assume you are a podcasting expert with like 30 years of expertise, then give an output. When you qualify it, then it knows what persona to take and it does like a better job at giving a good result than when you do not qualify or give a persona and give it generic questions. So the results are actually different uh,
Interesting.
in the yeah.
Interesting. I think I heard you in passing mention that words like please and thank you are causing problems. What do you mean by that?
Yep. So like the AI processing those words. Okay, what do I do with this, right? So if you give a summary, the AI needs to process those words. Like when there are like redundant tokens where it doesn't actually add. These are like fillers, more of like respect for people, etc. But for the
Huh?
AI, it does not mean anything. If you ask something, it needs to do something about it, right? So, like those things are those pillars are things that AI would like. Okay, what do I do with this now? Training the AI to like handle those is the critical part. So, like when you remove, like when you're like to the point, tell what the AI should do, it does a good job. But when you add the other things, right, that's when it needs more processing power. It burns more tokens and more memory, more capacity to like infer. Like 70 to 80% of like the costs are inferencing. That means it's thinking. When you give it a question, as big as it becomes, then it needs to process that and like give you an answer. So some of
Interesting.
these like filler words increase the time it takes to think and process your question.
Wow. But it doesn't necessarily affect the end answer, right?
Yeah, it just means, you can actually, if without those words, uh, it would think faster, burn less energy, less power, less tokens, and give you a response faster, right, at a lower
Mm,
cost for the company.
interesting. That's really hilarious. I wonder then when prompting with emojis will become sort of the default. The text stuff went from back in the day we had formal writing and then we had to shorten it in texts and then now it's moving to emojis and little like TTYLs and things like that. Can AI handle that kind of stuff? It's definitely compressed.
Yeah. Uh, I think those are like all interesting things. I think the AI basically, I think you were also asking about the doom. So one thing that differentiates, I'll connect these two questions together. Um, AI learns and gives you responses from only what it has seen. That's why, like, all of these LLM companies have like exhausted the resources available because, okay, they've trained on all the books, all the papers that has written, like everything out in the World Wide Web. So now they're like out of information. So it is trained on what it has seen. That's where like the human creativity comes into picture, where we
There
can
you
like
go.
be creative about the future, right? That power, it synthesizes based on what it has seen, right? So there are limitations to what it has seen, not seen, and what it can go, right? Because you're gonna train on it. So that's why like they've gone into like creating synthetic data. That means they are like making AI create data about hypothetical scenarios because they have like exhausted the amount of data available out there to train and make these models do things. So now going back to your question about like the smileys, emojis, all these like short forms, right? If you have like data repositories to train it, then yes, it can
Mm,
respond to all those questions of the Gen Z. If they don't train it, then no, it cannot do it. It's more about like, has it seen all of those examples, right? You have to like curate all of them and like train it. So yeah,
I
that would
see.
be.
Well, that's interesting. That's very interesting. I did consider, in times past that there could be a maybe a danger in AI starting to create all of the world's content and then feeding that back into itself and ending up in like a loop where eventually, several years from now, no matter what you ask for a given topic, AI is just going to pump out the exact same output because that's all that's been pumped out for the last couple of years. It's all that's existed. That's the modern updated information, is what I told you last time. Stop asking the question, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think that's fair. And also, like, one thing that I'm observing is, with like the recent launch of Sora, and then Google has like Nano Banana and all these updates. They're creating LLMs which can create videos, create images. So then, like, when it start getting published to the internet, to the social media, right? So then, um, differentiating between the original and like a fake AI generator
Oh,
is like
no.
very tough. So
I
it's
didn't
gonna
even
be
think about
interesting.
that.
Yeah.
Eventually, AI is going to believe that six-fingered hands are normal.
Yeah, you never know. And there are like
Gosh.
people on like Instagram who are like making money by like creating AI models, AI photos, everything is AI, and they're like making money off of it. They're just using
Yeah.
AI to like create everything, publish everything, and they keep creating content, and they do make money, and there are like thousands of followers that they get. Like you see on social media, there are all these people using AI to make money, etc.
Wow. So
So
there's plenty of prospects for problems, doom,
mhm,
gloom, but it sounds like
yep,
there's a whole heck of a lot of prospects for some positive and prosperity as well. And that's the kind of stuff you're
yeah,
focused on. So keep doing that, right?
exactly.
Cool. All right, Yaswan. It was a pleasure speaking with you today. If people want to reach out to you or see the content you're pumping out or any of the sweet AI systems you've been building, where do they go?
So they can like connect with me on LinkedIn using my name, Yashwanth Jeganathan. So or my email is Yashwanth, my first name, 360 @gmail.com. If anybody wants to reach out, happy to hear from them. But this was a pleasure chatting with you, Cameron, and like great questions. So it got me thinking as well. So I really
Awesome.
enjoyed our conversation.
Cool. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. It was great seeing you, great talking to you. Perhaps we'll connect again in the future.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting, and have a nice rest of the day.
Awesome.
Bye.
Enjoy.
Mhm.
Well, that was a fun conversation. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Remember, down below, there are links to any of the products that I was hawking during this episode, as well as a link to the landing page for my book so that you can be on the list to get advanced copies, maybe be a beta reader, and generally know when it's published. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode.